Hi, I'm Michael. Nice to welcome you to my channel. Give me a like and subscribe. That way, you won't miss any new exciting stories. Good luck, everybody. Let's go. I really appreciate my husband's love for me, and so I surround him with my tenderness and care. We live soul to soul, and everyone around us loves our family. I think it is the best in the world. I love my husband David very much, and he loves me very much. As time passed, David got a good friend named Mike. They had been friends since childhood and were, as they say, like each other. They shared a business, and his wife, Kathy, and I were very good friends. Now, Mike had a long-time passion fishing. My beloved David very much shared this passion, and Mike would often come over to our house and tell us how great it was to sit by the water with a fishing rod, enjoying nature and kebabs. Eventually, he talked my husband into going with him for 2 days to a beautiful fishing spot. It was just then our wedding anniversary, and my beloved David talked me into spending the holiday at a cabin on the shores of a beautiful lake, saying it would be romantic and all. I very rarely traveled out of town for such events, but I happily agreed to spend time with my beloved David at the lakeside. I imagined how good we would be together. I sent my daughter to her grandmother's house, and we began to prepare for the trip. I found the right things for the trip out of town, and soon everything was ready to go. Early in the morning, Mike came to pick us up in his car, but alone, without his wife, explaining that she was sick. The mood was magical and the weather was gorgeous. We loaded all our stuff and hit the road. We had to drive for about an hour on a bad road. We were shaking in the car, but thank God we finally got there. I got out of the car, and just as Mike promised, the place turned out to be really, really beautiful. The lake had stunning blue water and a beautiful sandy shore. Right in the middle of the lake was a fairly large island with a small one-story house on it. There was a beautiful pine forest all around. It was just a fairy tale, not a place. I hugged my beloved, and we stood like that, embraced, admiring the beautiful view of the magical lake. By lunchtime, while we were getting everything ready, I was tired. Lunch was spent discussing fishing plans and something else of no interest to me. I resented David for not paying any attention to me that day. After lunch, the men decided to go fishing, and I was left alone, walking through the woods and thinking how beautiful it was here. In the evening, the men returned from fishing and, almost without changing their clothes, sat down at the table and began to eat and drink. I sat down in a chair and noticed that no one was paying attention to me, and only then did I realize that my David was not sober at all. It became clear to me that they had taken cognac with them to the yacht and drank it well. At home, my David hardly drank at all, and it was noticeable that he couldn't handle it. I was also riddled with hangovers. My lover, no matter how hard I tried, still paid no attention to me. I began to feel really sorry for myself, and within half an hour, Mike and I were dragging my husband David to bed. David was tucked in, and we went to sit with Mike for a while. We sat and had a drink, and I told Mike that I was very upset with my husband and even cried. At that time, Mike put his arm around me and kissed me with the words, "It is not appropriate for a beautiful girl like you to cry." At first, I was confused, but then this anger at my husband and I was as if replaced. I reciprocated Mike's anger. Then he grabbed me in his arms and carried me to his room. God, I hadn't felt that kind of passion in a long time. And the fact that my husband was sleeping literally across the wall from us didn't bother me at all. After that trip, David felt very guilty about leaving me unattended, but now he surrounded me with care and love. I was really enjoying it. I pretended to be very upset with him, but in my heart, of course, I wasn't upset at all because I'd made a mess of things with his friend Mike, too. He'd had too much to drink, and he hadn't done it on purpose. And, of course, I didn't torture him for long and soon forgave him. After all, he was my favorite person in the world, and what had happened to his friend, Mike, would forever remain a secret. After that incident, everything went back to normal. John and I went on to live happy lives, and Michael and Linda remained our good friends. We never talked about that night again, and it seemed like it never happened. But in the back of my mind, I knew that something had changed between us. A few months later, I found out I was pregnant. John and I were beyond thrilled and began preparing for our baby boy. Michael and Linda were excited for us too, and offered to help in any way they could. As the months progressed, my love for John grew stronger, and I realized that he was my one and only. I also realized that what happened with Michael was a mistake, and I regretted it. I decided to focus on my family and forget about that night. When our baby was born, John was the happiest man in the world. He was a loving and caring father, and I fell in love with him all over again. Michael and Linda also came to visit us and were thrilled with the new addition to our family. Years went by, and our baby grew up healthy and happy. John and I continued to live soul to soul, surrounded by love and affection. Michael and Linda remained our good friends, but we never spoke of that night again. Looking back, I realized that what happened was a mistake, but it also taught me a valuable lesson. I learned that true love is about forgiveness and understanding, and that even in the darkest moments, love can shine through. I also learned that sometimes it's better to keep some secrets deep down to protect those we love. In the end, I'm grateful for everything that happened because it led me to where I am today, living a happy and fulfilling life with the man I love, surrounded by people who care about us. And that's all that matters.